The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. When they finally reached the stars, they found the answer. They were not alone. The Galactic Concord was a group of 12 alien species. They had traveled between stars for millions of years. They had built empires, fought wars, and made peace long before humans learned to make fire. When humanity's first ships left Earth, the Concord watched with curious eyes. Admiral Kung Teho remembered the first contact clearly. He was a young captain then, standing on the bridge of Earth's first deep space vessel. The alien ship was enormous, blocking out the stars like a metal mountain. His heart beat fast with excitement, not fear. "We come in peace," he had said through the translator. "We wish to be friends." The aliens had laughed. Not with joy, but with mockery. To them, humans were children playing in the Garden of Giants. Useful, perhaps, but never equals. That was 30 years ago. In the decades that followed, humanity did everything right. At least, that was what they believed. They sent doctors to alien worlds struck by disease. They shared their farming knowledge freely. They traded fairly and never cheated. When stronger species pushed them, humans stepped back. When aliens insulted them at meetings, humans smiled and nodded. Patience, Admiral Kong told his officers again and again. His hair was turning gray now, but his belief remained strong. "We prove our worth through peace, not war. One day, they will see us as equals." Dr. Park Subin believed the same thing. She was Earth's best expert on alien life and culture. For 15 years, she studied how aliens thought, what they valued, what they feared. She wrote books about building bridges between species. She trained young diplomats to bow properly, to speak softly, to never show anger. Understanding is the key, she taught her students. When we truly understand them, they will understand us. But the Concord did not want understanding. They wanted obedience. The Veth Empire was the strongest member of the Concord. They were tall beings, with skin like gray stone and eyes that burned like red coals. For 10,000 years, they had conquered and ruled. They saw kindness as weakness and mercy as stupidity. When the Veth demanded that Earth give up its outer colonies, the United Council of Earth met for months. The debate was long and painful. Some wanted to fight. Many wanted to resist. But Prime Minister Yoon Ha-jin spoke for peace. She was a small woman with a gentle voice. But when she spoke, everyone listened. She had led Earth through difficult times before. People trusted her wisdom. "I know this is hard," she said to the council. "I know it feels wrong. But think of our children. Think of the millions who would die in a war we cannot win. If we give them this, if we show them we are not a threat, perhaps they will finally accept us." The vote was close, but Peace One. Earth agreed to give up 3 colony worlds. 200,000 humans were told to pack their belongings and leave their homes. They did so quietly, with tears in their eyes, but hope in their hearts. This is the last time, they told themselves. After this, things will be better. Admiral Kung personally oversaw the evacuation. He shook hands with farmers who had built their lives on alien soil. He hugged children who had never seen Earth. He promised them that their sacrifice would mean something. "The Concord will see our good faith," he said. "They will see that humans keep their word. This will open doors for us." The colonies were handed over. The Veth took control of the worlds, and for a brief moment it seemed like the plan had worked. The Concord praised Earth's wisdom. Trade increased. Human diplomats were invited to more meetings. Dr. Park Soo-ben felt proud. "You see," she told her colleagues, "patience works. Understanding works. We are finally making progress." But the Veth were not satisfied. They had tasted human weakness, and they wanted more. 6 months after taking the colonies, the Veth made a new demand. They wanted the human settlements in the Kappa system. These were not empty worlds. These were thriving cities with millions of people. "You gave us 3 worlds," the Veth ambassador said with a cold smile. "Surely you can give us 3 more." "Unless you wish to fight?" The threat was clear. Give us what we want, or we will take it by force. Prime Minister Yoon called an emergency meeting. This time, the debate was shorter. Too many people still believed in peace. Too many feared war. And the Veth had promised that this would be the last demand. They gave their word, Yoon said, though her voice was tired now. We have to believe them. We have to try one more time. Admiral Kang said nothing during the vote. But when he returned to his quarters that night, he sat alone in the dark for hours. Something felt wrong. Something felt very wrong. Dr. Park Soo-ben could not sleep either. She read through old files about the Veth, looking for something she might have missed. Their history was filled with broken promises and betrayed allies. Why had she ignored this? Why had she believed they would treat humans differently? The council voted yes. The Kappa system would be handed over. Evacuation orders were sent to New Busan, the largest human colony in the region, but the Veth did not wait for the evacuation. They had never intended to wait. 3 days before the evacuation was supposed to begin, Veth warships appeared in the sky above New Busan. They did not send warnings. They did not ask for surrender. They simply opened fire, and everything humanity believed about the galaxy died in flames.
New Busan was beautiful in the morning. The ice moon of Kappa 7 was cold and harsh, but humans had made it home. Glass domes covered the cities, keeping the warmth inside. Gardens grew under artificial sunlight. Children played in parks while their parents worked in factories and farms. Lieutenant Beak Yuri loved watching the sunrise. The light came over the frozen mountains and turned the ice into gold and pink. She was 26 years old and worked in the communications center. Her job was simple: send messages between the colony and Earth. Most days were quiet. That morning was not quiet. The alarm started at exactly 6:47 local time. Yuri was drinking her morning tea when the screens lit up with warnings. Unknown ships entering orbit. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. What is happening? She asked her commander. Before he could answer, the first plasma bombs fell. The Veth did not target military bases. They did not aim for the spaceport or the power stations. They fired directly at the residential domes. The places where families lived, where children slept. Yuri watched through the window as the eastern dome exploded in blue fire. She could see people running, tiny figures against the flames. Some fell and did not get up. The dome collapsed and the cold of space rushed in. Anyone still alive inside died in seconds. Send a message to Earth? Her commander shouted. Tell them what is happening. Yuri's hands shook as she worked the controls. The communications array was still functioning, but for how long? She opened a channel to Earth and began speaking. This is Lieutenant Beak Yuri of New Busan Colony. We are under attack. Veth warships are bombing civilian areas. I repeat, civilian areas. They are not trying to capture us. They are trying to kill us all. Another explosion shook the building. The lights flickered. Through the window, Yuri saw a second dome burning. There are 2.3 million people here, she continued, her voice breaking. Families, children, they gave us no warning. They are using slow-burn plasma, the kind that takes time. They want us to suffer. She heard screaming from somewhere in the building. More explosions. The ground shook beneath her feet. I do not know how much longer we have. I do not know if anyone will survive. But I need Earth to know something. Yuri looked out the window one last time. She saw the dome where her parents lived beginning to crack. She saw fire everywhere. She saw her world ending. Tell Earth we did not run. Tell them we did not beg. Tell them to remember us. The transmission cut off. 3 days later, the rescue ships arrived from Earth. Admiral Kang led the fleet personally. He hoped, even then, that some people had survived. Maybe the underground shelters had held. Maybe some ships had escaped, but there was nothing. New Busan was gone. Where domes once stood, there were only melted ruins. Where gardens had grown, there was only ash. The Veth had been thorough. They had not simply destroyed the colony. They had erased it. Admiral Kang walked through the ruins in a protective suit. The ground was still hot in places. The air was toxic with smoke and chemicals. He saw twisted metal that had once been homes. He saw broken toys half buried in debris, and then he saw the dot. It was small, meant for a child of maybe 5 or 6 years. It was half melted from the heat, but he could still see the bright colors. Some parent had bought this shoe for their child, probably excited to watch them run and play. That child was gone now. Burned to ash with millions of others. Kang picked up the shoe. He held it carefully like something precious. He stood there for a long time, saying nothing. His officers waited, but no one spoke. Back on Earth, Dr. Park Subin received the official report. She read the numbers 3 times before she believed them. 2,341,872 confirmed dead. 0 survivors. The VEF had killed every single person on New Busan. She thought about all the years she had spent teaching diplomacy, all the books she had written about understanding, all the time she had told people that patience would win. She had been wrong. She had been so terribly wrong. The Galactic Concord released a statement about the massacre. It was short and cold. They called it regrettable, but said that humans should have evacuated faster. They blamed the victims. No one was punished. No one was sorry. That night, Prime Minister Yoon Ha-jin spoke to Earth. Every screen on the planet showed her face. She looked older than she had just days ago. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice did not shake. 30 years, she said. For 30 years we tried to be good neighbors. We healed their sick. We fed their hungry. We gave them everything they asked for. We smiled when they insulted us. We backed down when they threatened us. We did everything right. She paused. The silence was heavy, and they answered with fire. They killed our children. They burned our families. They laughed at our tears. Her voice grew harder now, colder. I spent my whole life believing that peace was always the answer, that kindness would be returned with kindness. I was wrong. I was a fool. And 2.3 million people paid for my mistake. She looked directly into the camera. So hear me now, not just Earth, but every species in this galaxy. We offered you friendship, and you spit on us. We offered you mercy, and you answered with murder. So this is our answer. She took a deep breath. We are done being polite. The broadcast ended, and across the galaxy, those who were watching felt something they had never felt before when looking at humanity. They felt afraid.
The galaxy waited for humanity to cry. They waited for the begging to start. They expected humans to come crawling back, asking for protection, offering even more than before just to survive. Instead, humanity disappeared. Every human ship returned to the Sol system. Every embassy closed. Every trade route went silent. For 18 months, not a single human vessel was seen beyond their own star. No messages came from Earth. No diplomats attended meetings. It was as if humanity had simply given up and retreated into a corner to die. The Veth High Commander found this amusing. His name was unpronounceable in human languages, but his laugh echoed through the halls of power on a dozen worlds. You see, he told the other Concord leaders, I told you they were weak. One small lesson, and they run away like frightened animals. In a few years, they will come begging us to let them serve. The other species nodded and agreed. Humans were soft. Humans were broken. Humans were no longer worth thinking about. They were wrong. Deep beneath the mountains of Korea, in tunnels that no satellite could see, humanity was not grieving. They were building. General Oh Dong-han had been a quiet man before New Busan. He was a soldier who had never wanted war, commander who dreamed of retirement and fishing. But when he saw the images from the massacre, something inside him changed. The softness in his eyes turned to iron. Prime Minister Yoon gave him everything he asked for. Every factory on Earth shifted to military production. Every scientist was recruited. Every resource was committed. Money no longer mattered. Politics no longer mattered. Humanity had only one goal now. We will never be weak again, General Oh told his staff on the first day. And they will never forget what they did. Dr. Shin Yun-ho was a quantum physicist who once dreamed of building bridges between stars. She had imagined humanity trading peacefully with alien species, sharing knowledge, growing together. Now she spent her nights designing weapons that would tear reality apart. The fold drive was her masterpiece. Normal ships traveled through space, limited by physics and time. But Dr. Shin found a way to bend space itself. A ship could now disappear in one place and appear in another instantly, without crossing the distance between. It was like magic, but it was pure science. They think they understand what we can do, she told General O. They have no idea. They have been traveling the stars for millions of years, but they stopped learning. They stopped growing. We have been in space for less than a century, and we have already passed them. Engineer Choi Ji-won designed the new warships. She was a young woman, barely 30, but her mind worked in ways that older engineers could not match. The ships she created were nothing like the slow, clumsy vessels of the Concorde. They were sleek and fast, built for one purpose only. No shields, she told the admirals when they questioned her design. We do not need to block their weapons. By the time they fire, we will already be gone, and then we will be behind them, and then they will be dead. Admiral Kang oversaw everything. He was too old for battle now, but he would lead this war anyway. The half-melted shoe sat on his desk in a glass case. He looked at it every morning and every night. It reminded him of why they were doing this. When we move, he told his captains, there will be no speeches, no demands, no negotiations. We gave them 30 years of talk. Now they get silence. Silence and fire. Dr. Park Soo-ben, who had spent her career teaching peace, now led a different department. She knew everything about the Veth, their biology, their weaknesses, their fears. She had studied them for decades, hoping to build friendship. Now she used that knowledge for something else. They breathe a specific mix of gases, she explained to the weapons teams. Change the mix by just 3%, and their lungs fail. Their skin is tough, but certain frequencies of light burn them like fire. Their eyes cannot see in the blue spectrum. They have so many weaknesses. They just never thought anyone would use them. Some people wondered if this was right. Some questioned if humanity was becoming the monsters they hated, but those voices were few and quiet. Every family on Earth had lost someone on New Busan. Every person remembered the laughter of the Concorde. They begged for justice. 18 months passed. The galaxy continued to ignore the silent Sol system. The Veth made jokes about the dead colony. Life went on as if nothing had happened. Then, one night, Prime Minister Yoon called a final meeting. General Lo was there. Admiral Kong was there. Every commander, every scientist, every leader who had worked in secret for 18 months gathered in an underground room. On the screens, they could see the fleet. Hundreds of ships hidden in the dark between planets. New weapons, new engines, new everything. Humanity had rebuilt itself from grief and rage. Tomorrow, Yoon said, we stop hiding. Admiral Kang stood. His voice was quiet but strong. They think we are broken. They think we are afraid. Tomorrow, we teach them the truth. Humans do not break. Humans do not forget. And when we are done, the galaxy will never look at us the same way again. The officers saluted. The scientists nodded. 18 months of work had led to this moment. Dr. Park Soo-ben thought about the young woman she had been, full of hope and dreams of peace. That woman was gone now, burned away with New Busan. In her place was someone harder, someone who understood that the galaxy only respected strength. We gave them our best, General O said as the meeting ended. Now we give them our worst. The fleet began to move. Rothan was the heart of the Veth Empire. For 10,000 years, no enemy had touched its soil. The planet was surrounded by defense stations and warships. Millions of soldiers stood ready to fight. The Veth believed their home was impossible to attack. They were wrong. The human fleet appeared without warning. One moment, the sky above Rothan was empty. The next moment, 300 human warships hung in orbit like silent ghosts. No alarms had sounded. No sensors had detected their approach. They were simply there. On the flagship, Admiral Kong sat in his command chair. His face showed no emotion. The child's shoe sat in a case beside him, as it always did. He pressed a button and spoke. His voice reached every screen, every speaker, every device on Rathon. The Veth looked up in shock as a human face appeared before them. "This is Admiral Kung Teho of the Earth United Fleet," he said. His voice was calm and cold. "You have exactly 30 minutes to evacuate your civilian population centers. Take your children, your elderly, your sick. Leave the cities. After 30 minutes, we will demonstrate what happens when humans stop asking nicely." The Veth High Commander watched from his palace. For a moment he felt something strange in his chest. Fear? No. Impossible. He was Veth. He did not fear humans. He laughed and gave the order. Destroy them. Show these animals what real power looks like. Ata! The Veth Defense Fleet moved to attack. 2,000 warships, each one massive and ancient, built from technology perfected over millions of years. They had crushed 100 species before. Humans would be no different. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Human ships moved in ways that should not be possible. They disappeared and reappeared without crossing the space between. Weapons fired from directions that made no sense. The Veth could not hit what they could not see. They could not fight what they could not understand. Ship after ship exploded. The Veth fired wildly, hitting nothing but empty space. Their shields meant nothing when human weapons appeared inside them. Their armor meant nothing when attacks came from everywhere at once. In 11 minutes, 2,000 Veth warships became 2,000 clouds of burning metal. Admiral Kong watched the debris drift past his windows. 15 minutes remaining, he announced to the planet below, "I suggest you run." Some Veth listened. Parents grabbed their children and fled to the countryside. Elders were carried from the cities. Some understood that the rules had changed, that humans were no longer the weak creatures they had mocked. But most stayed. Most still believed this was a trick, a bluff. Humans were soft. Humans did not have the stomach for real war. The High Commander told his people to stand firm. Many believed him. At exactly 30 minutes, the bombardment began. Kong had given strict orders. They would not become what they hated. They would not burn civilians like the Veth had burned New Busan. Instead, they would be precise. They would be surgical. They would be efficient. Military bases vanished in pillars of light. Government buildings crumbled to dust. Weapons factories melted into slag. Shipyards were erased from existence. Every piece of the Veth war machine was destroyed while the civilians nearby watched in terror. For 6 hours, the bombardment continued. When it finally stopped, the Veth Empire had no army. It had no fleet. It had no weapons. Everything it had built over 10,000 years was gone. Admiral Kang landed on Rothan's surface. He walked through the ruined capital city, past broken statues and shattered monuments. His guards walked beside him, but no one tried to stop them. The Veth who remained just stared, too shocked to move. They found the High Commander in his palace, wounded and trembling. His guards had fled. His power was gone. He looked up at Kang with those red coal eyes, but there was no pride left in them. "Only fear. You cannot do this," he whispered. "We are the Veth. We have ruled for 10,000 years. Kong looked down at him. "You ruled because no one stopped you. You burned our children because you thought we were weak. You laughed at our pain because you thought there would be no price." He reached into his coat and pulled out a small glass case. Inside was the half-melted shoe. He held it up so the High Commander could see. "I found this in the ashes of New Busan. It belonged to a child. A child who was burning while you sat in this palace and celebrated." The High Commander looked at the shoe. He had no words. "I am not going to kill you," Kong said softly. "I want you to live. I want you to spend the rest of your life remembering this day. I want you to tell everyone what happened when you pushed humanity too far." He put the shoe back in his coat. "We offered you peace for 30 years. We offered you friendship, trade, cooperation. We asked for nothing but respect. And you gave us fire and death." Kong turned to leave. Wait, the High Commander called out. What do you want? What are your demands? We will give you anything. Kang stopped at the door. He did not turn around. 30 years ago, we wanted friendship. Today, we want nothing from you. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to teach a lesson. He walked out into the burning streets and classes in session. The news spread across the galaxy within hours. The mighty Veth, undefeated for 10,000 years, had been broken in a single day. By humans. By the species everyone had called weak and primitive. The other members of the Concord watched their screens in horror. If humans could do this to the Veth, what could they do to everyone else? For the first time in galactic history, the powerful feared the weak, and humanity was just getting started. The Galactic Concord fell apart within 1 year. For millions of years, the 12 species had held together through fear and greed. They bullied weaker races and shared the profits. They never fought each other because there was always someone smaller to push around. But now that system was broken. 3 species contacted Earth immediately after the fall of Rothan. They had always been uncomfortable with the Veth's cruelty, they said. They had always respected humanity, they claimed. They wanted to be friends. Admiral Kong read their messages and said nothing. He remembered these same species laughing at human diplomats. He remembered them voting to ignore the massacre of New Busan, but he was a soldier, not a politician. He let Prime Minister Yoon decide. We will accept their friendship, Yoon said, but we will never forget what they did. And they will earn our trust through actions, not words. 2 other species made a different choice. They saw what humans had done to the Veth and decided to strike first. Better to attack now, they thought. Before humanity grows even stronger, their attacks failed completely. Human ships appeared over their homeworlds, before their fleets even left port. The battles were short and one-sided. Within 3 weeks, both species had lost everything. Their militaries were gone. Their leaders were prisoners. Their empires were over. The remaining 7 species of the Concord simply surrendered. They sent messages to Earth begging for mercy. They offered wealth, technology, territory. They promised to do whatever humanity wanted. The old Galactic Concord was dead. Something new was being born. Ambassador Beak Yuri stood at the center of the new Galactic Assembly. She was not supposed to be here. She was supposed to be dead, burned with the rest of New Busan, but fate had been kind to her. When the bombing started, Yuri had run. Not away from her post, but toward the underground bunkers. She grabbed a young mother and her 2 children along the way. Together, they hid in a shelter designed for mining emergencies. They stayed there for 9 days, listening to the silence above, wondering if anyone would come when the rescue ships finally found them. Yuri was the only survivor of the colony's communications team. Her last transmission, the one she thought would be her final words, had been recovered from backup systems. It played on every screen on Earth. Her voice, scared but brave, became a symbol of what humanity had lost. Now she stood before 1,000 alien delegates. She wore a simple black uniform, the same color as the space between stars. Her voice was calm and clear. 30 years ago, she began, humanity came to you with open hands. We wanted nothing but friendship. We offered our knowledge, our medicine, our help. We asked only to be treated with basic respect. The aliens shifted in their seats. Many could not meet her eyes. You'd spit on us. You mocked us. You stole from us. And when we still did not fight back, you burned our children alive. 2,300,000 people died on New Busan. Families, children, elders, good people who only wanted to build a life among the stars. Her voice grew harder. You laughed. The mighty Galactic Concord laughed at our pain. You said it was our fault. You said we should have run faster. You went back to your feasts and your politics and forgot about us. She paused. The silence was heavy. We did not forget. Yuri looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each species in turn. We do not want your apologies. Words are empty. We do not want your fear, though I see it in your eyes. We want you to understand one simple truth. She stepped forward. Humanity never wanted to be conquerors. We never wanted war or empire. We wanted to explore the stars, to learn, to grow, to make friends. You chose this path, not us. Every ship we've built, every weapon we've created, every battle we've fought, all of it exists because you forced us to become this. She turned to look at the screen behind her. It showed an image of New Busan before the attack. Green gardens, under glass domes. Children playing. Families laughing. You will never forget them. And neither will you. The new Galactic Assembly was different from the old Concord. Humanity did not rule it, but they watched it closely. Dr. Park Soo-ben led a new medical program that helped species across the galaxy. But the help came with conditions. Any species that wanted human medicine or technology had to prove they treated all people with basic dignity. There were no exceptions. General Odong Hyen retired to New Busan. The colony was being rebuilt, slowly and carefully. Where millions had died, a great memorial now stood. Black stone walls carried the names of every person lost in the massacre. 2,300,000 names carved forever in stone. At the center stood a single statue, a child reaching toward the stars, frozen in bronze, representing all the futures that had been stolen. General O visited the memorial every morning. He would walk among the names, remembering why he had fought. Sometimes young soldiers would join him, and he would tell them stories about the people behind the names. They were not just numbers. They were real. Admiral Kong refused every medal and honor. He said he had only done what needed to be done. He spent his final years teaching at the military academy, training the next generation of officers. His lesson was always the same. Always offer peace first, he would say. Always try to understand. Always look for the gentle path. Humanity's greatest strength is our ability to love, to hope, to forgive. Then he would hold up the glass case with the child's shoe. But when they answer with blood, when they burn the innocent and laugh at the flames, remember this. Remember what they took, and make very sure they never forget the cost of hurting us. The words of Prime Minister Yoon were carved above Earth's new parliament building. A reminder for all generations to come. Came in peace. They chose war. We finished it. And the galaxy learned the hardest lesson of all. Humanity's patience was not weakness. It was a gift. And gifts can be taken back.